Hey, and welcome to Zero Compromise, helping you stand for truth in a world that falls for lies. I'm Patricia Engler, joined here at the Ark Encounter by Jessica Jaworski, aka JJ.
Hello.
And we still don't have Rocket Rob with us.
No Rob again.
But we're still here at the conference hosted by Bright Lights. It's the Speak Truth in Your Heart conference. We have had a fantastic weekend, and we've met some really cool people. So who's with us in the studio today?
We're here with Melanie and Aaress from Compassionate Hope Foundation. We talked to Catherine before about their involvement in stopping human trafficking, so we're very excited to hear from these two as well and what they're doing with Compassionate Hope Foundation. And they also own a business, DuoParadigm PR and Design, and so we're excited to hear what the Lord is doing in their small business as well.
Great to be here. Thank y'all for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well, we're so glad you could be here, and we just want to hear about your story, how God has led you, what your advice for young people would be. So let's start with what you guys do and what your background is.
Yeah, so it is just a joy to be here at the Ark Encounter. So many memories of being here. It's just such a special place. So what we do is Melanie and I own a marketing and design company together. And we have had the privilege of working with many Christian nonprofits and small businesses over the years. And one of the nonprofits that we have just been so blessed to spend quite a few years with is Compassionate Hope, who helps rescue kids who are in danger of being trafficked or have been trafficked in Southeast Asia, as well as serving and caring for members of the persecuted church.
Sweet. That's awesome. It's really cool to see just how you can be in any kind of workplace and doing whatever it is that you do, any vocation, but use it for the Lord. So we love to see that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. How did the Lord bring you into being involved in small business and kind of led you into that trajectory?
Yeah, so after I finished high school, I kind of had my own plan for my life, but God's plan took me places that I never really expected. It took me through a couple ankle surgeries. It took me all the way to the U.S. Open, where I was working as a journalist. And after a while, God just really kept putting it on my heart to really spend some more time working with him and his children. So that's kind of how it evolved. And then at that point, I had already worked with Melanie on some projects for the tennis company, and I knew I really loved working with her and I just loved her heart for God and his people. And that's how we started our business about 14 years ago. And it has been a fun ride. I love being an entrepreneur. I love owning my own business. I love the flexibility, and I really even do love the challenges sometimes.
Sure. That's great. And Melanie, how about you? Your backstory, did you grow up in a Christian home? How did God lead you? Is this something you always pictured yourself doing? What did that look like for you?
Yes, no, I did not picture myself doing this. I wanted to be a teacher from the time I was in fourth grade. Oh. But I was homeschooled from fifth grade on and loved that. And my family, my parents came to Christ right before they got married, or my dad did, and through the leading of my mom, which was really cool. And I have moved around various times until I moved to Texas. I've been in Texas for 20 years now, and that's really cool, and that's how I met her.
Okay.
So Texas was good for lots of reasons, but one of the exciting things about moving to Texas was I knew someone in Texas that really loved the Lord and had a joyful, vibrant life. And there were a lot of people that I knew followed the Lord and said they were believers, but I didn't really see the joy that they had in serving the Lord. And I was like, well, I know there's a girl there who is a joyful servant of the Lord. Her name is Gina. And I was like, okay, I could be there and that would be exciting. So I'm not going to tell you how old I was. Anyway, moved there and got to meet Aaress a few years later, and working together started with my now brother-in-law's lawn company. So
wow, very cool. Aaress, you mentioned some of the struggle of business ownership. Can you talk about some of the hardships as well as the positive aspects of small business and how the Lord kind of works through that?
Yeah, so I never really envisioned that I would be a small business owner. That was the furthest thing I would have ever expected. As a kid growing up, homeschooled, I loved history. I loved the challenge of homeschooling, but I hated math. Absolutely hated math. And I can't tell you how many times I wished I could go back to those days when I did not pay attention in algebra and all the rest. But some of the challenges that are facing is that, when you work for a company, you have somebody that's always telling you what to do, somebody that helps provide motivation because they're providing your paycheck. But when you own your own business, the sky is really the limit for what you want to do. But again, if you're not self-motivated and you are not disciplined and you're not the one that's going to, with God's grace, get up out of bed every morning, it can be really difficult. And then also there are some challenges just with all the government regulations on business and stuff. But those things are hardships, but the rewards are so much more rewarding. Some of the things I love to do is that we get to pick who we work with, and we get to be involved in ministries and businesses that are changing lives. And so in a way, it's been so amazing to have a little piece and play a small part in so many big things that God is doing. And that's what I love, because we've gotten to serve and minister with different organizations and different nonprofits all over the world, just because they're seeking God and we're seeking God, and God's bringing our paths together.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And again, just seeing how you can do whatever vocation you're in for the Lord. And that's such a big message that we really want to encourage young people listening with. So for both of you guys, what would you say to the young person just for how they can live out their God-given calling and live out a biblical worldview in the public workplace, in the market environment, in the business environment? What would you say to young people who want to do this and want to do it for the Lord?
Well, first of all, I would say one of the things that I really struggled with as a young person after graduation, when I was like, what am I going to do with my life, was I was very afraid to make a commitment. And there's a lot of commitments that we have to make in life. And one of those was, commitment to college. Okay, so then what about commitment to working in a business? And I was very fearful of, 2 years is such a long time. 4 years is such a long time. It's going to be forever. I'm going to be so old. I'm going to be dead, at the end of 4 years. And yet that is not what it's about. And if I could go back, I would not be afraid of making a commitment to see where God is leading. If he is bringing you wise counsel and he is bringing you great opportunities, just jump into those and know that, if it's not God, he's going to shut those doors and he's going to take away the peace from your life, and he's going to really show you this is not me. But if he's leading you, boy, those doors are going to fly open, and he's really going to show you where he wants you. And I would say don't be fearful.
Such good thoughts, Mel. Another thing that I would add, too, is that you're approaching it with a heart of service. And that's something that I am just so blessed that we do get the ability to serve. And also, just having a good attitude. Because, in our culture today, it is perfectly acceptable to tell the whole world how much you hate your job. And, and if you don't like your boss, it's perfectly acceptable to chew them out on your Facebook and to just continually do these things that are not honorable. And so I think one of the things that I really would want to encourage young people is your attitude matters so much. And just having a good attitude and being just frankly a joy to be around is something that can make a huge difference in the workplace. And that also sets apart you as a believer and as someone who's walking with the Lord, because your coworkers and your colleagues and the people that you're around realize, okay, well, so-and-so is different. When we're complaining and we're, moaning about how awful it is that we have to come into work, they're not taking part in that. And so I think that's something that is a practical little thing that young people can do, is just recognize that. I think it was from Elizabeth Elliot. I hope I'm not misquoting her. I probably am. But is that, your job is a calling and is something that God has given you to do. And in this job, I can be faithful to God because I'm doing what he's called me to do.
Yeah, we're called to work heartily as unto the Lord, to please God first and foremost and not men. So that's very important to remember that. And to have that service mindset that we are serving others and that we're to count others in their interests as more important than our own. So that's super important as well. You are both involved in Compassionate Hope Foundation. Can you talk about a little bit about how you got involved with Compassionate Hope Foundation as well?
Yes, I met the founder and his wife as they were doing other ministry years ago, probably more than 10 years ago. And they were very magnetic in their relationship with the Lord and how that kind of oozed out of every pore. And just seeing that and getting to know them, I got to know their ministry, Compassionate Hope. And that was really a special time. And I kept telling Aaress, you need to meet these people. You need to meet these people. And so Aaress finally met them, but my role in Compassionate Hope is I get to be graphic designer, and that's something that I've loved. I started out as a photographer and love photography, and doing college, my dad was like, you need to actually stop taking photography jobs so that you can actually get schoolwork done. And I'm like, oh, no, wait, what? But he was very wise in that, and it turned into graphic design because of that. So just the way God leads. And I've really enjoyed graphic design and getting to help with all kinds of things in the design world. And for Compassionate Hope, that means getting to use my photography skills in Thailand. It means getting to update the website. It means getting to brainstorm with other creative people who work with Compassionate Hope and say, hey, how can we share this ministry and how God loves the least of these through design, through all kinds of ways. But for me, that's one of my passions, so through design.
That's awesome. How about you?
Yeah, so I love getting to be part of their marketing and their branding and their communication. So that can vary so much. I think of all the Facebook messages that I have in my phone right now from our team on the other side of the world, communicating back with us, photos of children that are in need, photos of what's happening in the persecuted church in areas. And so I always love the ability to hear their stories and then to brainstorm with the team about how best we can share their stories, because those of us on this side of the world for Compassionate Hope, we are their voice. I would love for them to come and sit at dinner with all of the supporters here in the States. I would love for them to be able to come and speak to the churches, but they can't do that. Various logistical and legal reasons and their protection reasons they can't come here. But instead, we can package their stories in a way and share what God is doing through them and share their needs with the world over here.
Wow, that's awesome. And we'd love to hear some of those stories.
Yeah.
I want to comment as well, though. It's just so cool to hear both of you guys talking about just doing these jobs like graphic design and marketing and things that you might not normally associate with fighting human trafficking and doing ministry. But it's just so cool to see how God can literally take what it is you're doing and use it for his kingdom. And of course, even if it's just in a quote, quote, normal work environment, you've been hearing today ways that you can just do that for the Lord as well, wherever you are, serving the people he's put around you. But just want to encourage you, whatever it is that God has given you to do it for his kingdom, and know that you can do it for the broader mission field as well. Jesus said the fields are white or ripe for the harvest, and we can be serving him in this short time on earth. Like basically our time on earth is a short-term missions trip. We can be thinking about it that way. We're not here
that's
awesome.
Wow.
We want to live for eternity, and it's cool to see how you guys are doing that, and just want to encourage other people to do that too. But anyway, rant over.
That was excellent.
I'll give a heartily amen to that. Yes, yeah. A hearty amen.
Little soapbox moment, but yeah, let's turn then to hear some of those stories from the persecuted church or from human trafficking. What are some of the stories you want the church and young people on this side of the world to hear?
Yeah, so I can think of two, and I'll try to make them brief so Mel can tell her stories too. The first one, actually, I'm thinking of because it kind of started in Thailand and it came to here this week and then went back to Thailand. So here we go. So this past week we've been here the last day or two at the awesome Bright Lights Speak Truth in Your Heart conference, and we've had a booth here for Compassionate Hope. And I was at the booth, and a little girl, precious little girl, came up to me and she said, "Can you tell me why the little girl in the video is crying?" And I thought, okay, what video? And I looked at the screen, and we have about a 3-minute video with some footage from Thailand and other areas of Southeast Asia. And I instantly didn't think of what scene that was. And so unfortunately the video is looping, and by the time I looked up, there's no little girl crying on the screen. So I thought, well, I'll have to wait and see when it comes on. Well, I thought this little girl would probably get distracted in the minute since, and she did not. She was still watching to find this scene. And so a few minutes go by, and she taps me. She goes, okay, it's coming up. It's coming up. This is close to where the little girl is crying. And so the scene changes, and there is a little girl in the backseat of a van, and she is sobbing and just crying her eyes out. And instantly I remembered, I said, oh, I know that story. I said, in fact, I think I might have shot that video. I said, because I was sitting in the front seat. And I told her the story of how when Melanie and I were in Thailand, we had the opportunity to visit this northern part of Thailand where trafficking is very prevalent. And so in their culture, it is perfectly permissible for a man with a wife to just go out and take another wife. And this had happened in a home in this community. Husband decided to go get a second wife, and first wife had kids and said, no, this is not, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not staying. And so she took off and she left all of her kids in this home. So scenario is a culture that does not value women. There are 3 small girls of her children. New wife moves in. New wife has older boys. Bad situation. Does not value children, does not value women, certainly does not value first wife's kids. So fortunately, the husband, by God's grace, realized that this is not a good environment for his kids. And so he started releasing his kids to be whoever wanted them, basically could take them. And so fortunately, he had heard about our ministry. Somebody had told him about Compassionate Hope's Homes of Hope. And he said, well, I've got 2 girls. I've got three girls, but I only want to let the 2 oldest ones go. So the 2 oldest one, he said, you can have them. We were grateful to be able to have them into our homes, but there were still 2 kids there. So when Melanie and I were in Thailand, we had the joy of helping rescue the 3rd child, Baya, and that was one of the little girls. Well, the day that we shot this video, we had just rescued Baya, and Mei Ling and Masua, the older 2 girls, were with us, and they were both crying in the van on the way home. And it really puzzled us.
After having rescued
Baya. So it puzzled us why, this is such a happy, glorious day. Why are the girls still sobbing in the back of the car? Well, with the help of our translator, one of the girls was able, through her sobs, to say something to the effect of, my joy is not complete until Noah comes home. What had happened was they were a set of 4 siblings, and the father wanted to hang on to the little boy. And so the 3 girls had found safety. The conditions that they were living in were horrible.
Horrible.
I mean, absolutely horrible. Dirt floor. You could see the daylight from the slats in the boards around the house. And so, but Al, the founder of Compassionate Hope, he just wiped away her tears and said, I will not rest. I promise you, we will get Noah. And it took probably about a year.
Well, because at that time we didn't have a home for Noah. There was just a situation where all of the homes that we had currently in that location were full. And a little boy, he needed to be in the boys' home, and they're all in the same location, so the siblings would have been together, but he needed a home with the boys, and so it was just at that time there wasn't a way.
Yeah, but God made a way. And that was what was so powerful, was that we were able to come home. We were able to tell Baya's story. We were able to share the photos that we had captured, the video that we had captured. And within a year's time, God had provided more homes in this village. And now, I guess it's been like 7 or 8 years later, all 4 of the siblings are reunited, doing good. I love seeing photos of all 4 of them, and Noah is much bigger now, but he is doing super, super well, and it's just amazing to see. The second story that comes to mind was we were able to be there in Thailand when they had a secret women's retreat. And so I know that this is going to be publicly broadcasted, so I don't want to give too many details, but there are some border countries of Thailand that are not God-honoring, and that they are communist nations, and the persecuted church, praise God, is thriving in these nations, but it is a very hard, very difficult time of suffering for them. And so our team was able to put together a women's retreat in one of the border cities, and we were able to bring over members of the persecuted church. And so I was young at the time. I think I was in my early to mid 20s when we did this. And I look back on those moments and go, I wish I understood what I was seeing in those moments. And we sat down with these ladies and heard them share their testimonies. And one of them stood out in particular to me. I was listening to her, and she was sharing about how her heart was so huge for her community to share the gospel. And, this is a lady that's in a country where, she could be killed for this. And she said that she had, the previous year, had opened up her home to whoever wanted to come to hear the gospel at Christmas time. But she had a problem. She said, my home is so small, I couldn't fit them all. And then she kind of perked up and said, but I got a plan for next year. And I was like, okay. And she said, yeah. She kept going and telling us, she said, my plan for next year is I'm going to knock the walls out in my house.
Oh, wow.
So I have more room.
Wow.
And I've never been able to forget that story. I thought, oh my, what a heart for her neighbors, that she would knock the walls out in her house so that she could safely bring them in so they could hear the gospel. Here I am. I don't want to be inconvenienced and, share the gospel in line at the grocery store. I mean, I don't have time to slow down, but she's going to demolish the inside of her house so she can have more people to come and hear the gospel. So that was something that I've never forgotten.
Wow, that's incredible. Melanie, do you have a story that you would like to share as well?
Yes, I was thinking what story? Because there's so many stories, but one that stood out to me recently was at the same event in Thailand where we got to meet some of these incredible believers. There was a woman whose husband had been martyred. And a few months ago, maybe, another man, local leader in the faith, was also martyred for his faith. And his wife, I think they had 8 kids. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
8 kids are now destitute.
Right before Christmas, yeah.
Right before Christmas. And so Compassionate Hope came alongside this mom, now widow, with these children, and is helping the not just Compassionate Hope, but our supporters. And they sent so much love and were able to support them. But what stood out to me was that this woman whose husband had been martyred years ago, she and her daughter came alongside this newly widowed woman and said, this is how we can help you. And they helped them through this time. And then recently, this mom has to figure out how they can support themselves, right? So her oldest son and daughter were in need of some help vocationally, like how can they help to earn money for their family? And so Compassionate Hope was made aware of this through their community surrounding them, and so we sent out a message to the email list just saying, we need a sewing machine, we need a motorcycle. So the oldest son has this opportunity to learn how to fix motorcycles, but he needs one so that he can get to where he needs to go for his training. And the oldest daughter, one of the other ladies in the community, is going to teach her how to be a seamstress, and she needs a sewing machine. And so just seeing the working of the Compassionate Hope family to say, oh yeah, we're going to send the funds for the motorcycle, we're going to send the funds for the sewing machine, and yet this widow of a man who had been martyred years ago coming alongside another widow and saying, how can I help you? And these young people in this family who are now going to be skilled and have a life that they can support their family. They can support families when they become husbands and wives, and who knows how the gospel can be spread on that motorcycle or with that seamstress. That's the incredible power of the gospel and God working on both sides of the world with his incredible plans. And so getting to hear that was just like, wow, this is all working together and all fitting together in this crazy, amazing map that God has that we don't get to see until it unfolds.
There you go.
It reminds me of Galatians 2:20 that says, I'm crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, and the life that I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself up for me. And having that mentality of that you are living for Christ now. Yes. Once you have submitted your life to Christ, it's no longer about you. We're called to deny ourselves, and these people are doing just that. And so that's incredible to hear.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for sharing those stories. I encourage all the listeners, go learn from the persecuted church. There's amazing biographies out there,
Absolutely.
Autobiographies. So you'll learn so much about God and want to know him more that way too. But just as we close here, is there anything else that you want young people to know that you would encourage them, or any advice? What do you want young people to take away from today?
Yeah, I would say just trust God with your future. And don't apply common sense to your life with God. There's so much in the Bible that we would consider not to be common sense, and be willing to trust God at it. And it's great to have dreams and passions for your future, but hold it loosely. hold it loosely and realize that God may have something that is so much bigger and so much better than your plans. And I know that, there were moments when I was recovering from ankle surgeries and my life seemed, pretty much over. It just was like, what kind of career am I going to get? Who's going to want to marry me? Who's going to want anything to do with me because of all this? And just being able to trust God and say, okay, Lord, you've given me a detour, but that detour is only because you want me on a different road. And it is a road that is so much better than I could even dream.
That's fantastic.
And I kind of already said it, but not to fear commitment, not to fear the times of life that we have to spend to get somewhere else. The times of life you need to commit to something. Don't be afraid of commitment, and then chase the joy. Chase the joy that a life in Christ can bring, and really look to Him to fill you with that joy and not things of the world. Because the true joy is not going to be in the things of the world. It might feel kind of great for a moment, but it's all of eternity that we have ahead of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you both for your time. And then in the last couple of minutes here, is there a way you want people to know about your business or the Compassionate Hope Foundation and where they can go to find that information, to know more about it?
Yeah, compassionatehope.org is the place to go. We have a new book that Susan Henson, the founder, the wife of the founder, and Brother Al have written recently, and it's got a lot of these stories in it. And so if anybody wants to hear more of those stories, that would be a great place to go and look for the book.
Great.
Compassionatehope.org.
Great. Well, thank you so much again for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks so much.
And just want to thank you as the listeners, and again encourage you, use your talents and your giftings and whatever you're doing for the Lord. And just want to put it out there, we're always hiring at Answers in Genesis. So whatever God has given you to do, including, say, graphic design or accounting or marketing, there's a place for you here to do that for the kingdom of God. So just keep that in mind. Consider that in prayer. And meanwhile, hope you tune in next time. Please keep standing on the truth of God's word with zero compromise.
See you guys later.